Everyone tracks metrics. Every team has dashboards. Every quarter has a new set of numbers to review. And yet, here's the uncomfortable truth. Most organizations still can't answer the questions that actually matter. Are we performing well? Are we improving? And are we making better decisions because of the data?
If your dashboards are packed but your leadership conversations are still driven by gut feel, politics, or endless debate, it's not because you need more charts. It's because you need the right measures. Today, we're going to cut through the noise and focus on 7 KPIs that tell you whether your BI function is truly driving clarity, alignment, and measurable impact. I'm Elias Mercer, and welcome back to the BI channel, where data meets decisions. My job, and really my obsession, is helping BI leaders move from reporting activity to enabling better outcomes. And there's a big distinction there. Because a BI team can be busy every day, shipping dashboards and refreshing metrics, and still not be effective. So this episode is about precision. The specific KPIs that separate high-performing BI organizations from the ones that are simply drowning in their own reporting. Before we jump into the 7, let's zoom out for a moment. Around the world, organizations tend to prioritize different performance signals. In the US, you'll often see an emphasis on speed and growth. The question is, how fast can we scale and how quickly can we move? In parts of Europe, there's often a stronger focus on compliance, stability, and governance. The question becomes, are we operating safely, consistently, and within the rules? Across much of Asia, you'll frequently hear about efficiency and scale. How do we produce more, serve more, and optimize the engine? In Latin America, agility and customer experience commonly rise to the top. How do we adapt quickly, and how do we keep the customer close? Across many African markets, accessibility and innovation can be central. How do we make solutions available, leapfrog constraints, and build what's next? Different contexts, different pressures. But when you look at the most mature BI organizations across all of those regions, you see something surprisingly consistent. They don't track everything. They track a small set of KPIs that guide decisions. Not KPIs that simply describe activity. Not KPIs that flatter the team. So today, regardless of where you operate or what industry you're in, these are 7 KPIs that travel well. They work because they measure what BI is supposed to do. Help people decide and act with confidence. All right, let's get into it. 7 KPIs. And as you listen, I want you to ask yourself one simple question after each one. Can I measure this today? And if not, what would it take? KPI number 1, decision speed. This is the time it takes your organization to make a decision once relevant data is available. Notice that phrasing. It's not how fast can we pull a report. It's not how fast can the dashboard load. It's once the information exists, how long until the business commits to a decision? If decision speed is slow, you're looking at friction, approvals, unclear ownership, meetings that loop, or teams that don't trust the inputs enough to move. A practical way to think about this is to pick a few recurring decisions like pricing updates, inventory moves, marketing budget shifts, hiring approvals, and measure the cycle time. When BI is working, it doesn't just inform. It accelerates. KPI number 2, decision accuracy. This one is harder, and it's also the point. Decision accuracy asks, how often do decisions lead to the intended outcome? If you made a call based on a forecast, did the forecast hold? If you launched a campaign based on customer segmentation, did it actually move the needle? If you changed a process based on performance data, did performance improve? This KPI turns BI into accountability. And yes, outcomes can be influenced by external factors. That's fine. Your goal isn't perfect prediction. Your goal is learning. High-performing BI organizations create feedback loops. They look back at decisions and ask, were we right and why? KPI number 3, data trust score. Do people believe the numbers? Because if they don't, nothing else matters. Low trust shows up in familiar ways. Meetings where someone says, that's not what I'm seeing, teams maintaining shadow spreadsheets, executives asking for one more cut because they're not confident, or analysts spending their best hours reconciling basics. A data trust score can be measured through short internal surveys, support ticket themes, reconciliation rates between systems, or even adoption signals like whether teams keep coming back to the same sources. Trust is the currency of BI. Without it, your dashboards are just decoration. KPI number 4, insight adoption rate. This is where a lot of BI teams get humbled. Insight adoption asks, how often are your insights actually used to change a decision, a strategy, a workflow, or a behavior? Not viewed, not opened, not exported. Used. Because a dashboard that gets 1,000 views but changes nothing is not a win. It's a habit, maybe even a distraction. You can measure adoption by integrating BI into decision points. Were recommendations referenced in planning documents? Did teams follow the suggested actions? Did the insight trigger a task, an experiment, or a policy change? If you can't point to where insights land in the real operating system of the business, you found a gap. KPI number 5, time to insight. This is the time it takes to go from question to answer. Someone asks, why are returns up in the Northeast? How long until you can give a credible answer that the business can act on? Time to insight is about agility. It's about whether your BI stack and operating model can handle real curiosity without turning every question into a 2-week project. When time to insight gets shorter, something powerful happens. Teams ask more questions. They explore. They experiment. They learn faster. And that's the real advantage. Not a prettier dashboard. A faster learning cycle. KPI number 6, Data Quality Index. This is a composite measure, usually pulling together completeness, accuracy, consistency, and timeliness. Data quality is not glamorous, but it is foundational. If your data is incomplete, your analysis will be biased. If your data is inaccurate, your decisions will be wrong. If your definitions aren't consistent, teams will fight. If your data is late, decisions will happen without it. A solid data quality index makes the invisible visible. It turns vague complaints like the data is messy into something specific you can improve. And here's the key, you don't need to boil the ocean. Start with the most decision-critical datasets: revenue, customer, inventory, risk, whichever tables truly run your business. KPI number 7, BI ROI, or what I like to call return on insight. This is where BI stops being seen as a service desk and starts being understood as an investment. The question is simple: what business value did BI create? That value can show up as cost savings, revenue lift, reduced churn, fewer compliance incidents, faster cycle times, fewer hours spent on manual reporting, or better allocation of resources. The important move here is to connect BI initiatives to outcomes, not outputs. A new data model isn't the value. A new dashboard isn't the value. The value is what changed because those things existed. Now, the obvious next question is, okay, Elias, how we put these into practice without creating yet another metrics program? Let's make it practical. Step 1, start with a baseline. You can't improve what you won't measure, and you can't manage what you pretend is already fine. So take a month and measure where you are right now. Even if it's messy, even if the number is embarrassing, especially if it's embarrassing. Step 2, build a KPI dashboard for BI itself. Yes, BI needs its own dashboard. If you're asking the business to run on metrics, your team needs to model that discipline. Keep it tight. Keep it visible. Track the 7 KPIs we're discussing, and if you must add anything, add only what directly supports them. Step 3, align KPIs with decision workflows. This is the part many teams miss. A KPI is useless if it's not attached to a process. So map key decisions in the organization: who owns them, how often they happen, what data informs them, and what good looks like. Then connect the KPIs. Decision speed ties to governance and ownership. Decision accuracy ties to feedback loops and learning. Trust ties to definitions, lineage, and quality. Adoption ties to change management and training. Time to insight ties to tooling, data modeling, and prioritization. BI ROI ties to business cases and outcome tracking. Step 4, review monthly. Not annually. Not when there's time. Monthly. These KPIs should be part of your operating rhythm, just like sales reviews or production reviews. If BI is central to how the business runs, BI performance should be reviewed with the same seriousness. Step 5, share the KPIs transparently. This is where culture changes. When teams see the BI function improving, trust starts to rise. When trust rises, adoption rises. When adoption rises, impact rises. Transparency turns BI from a black box into a partner. Let's look ahead, because these KPIs aren't going to stay static. Over the next 3 to 5 years, measurement in BI is going to evolve fast, and a lot of that is driven by AI and by the globalization of operating models. First, AI-driven KPI monitoring. Instead of waiting for a monthly review, systems will continuously watch KPI behavior, flag anomalies, and suggest what to investigate. Think of it as observability, but for decision performance. Second, predictive KPI models. Rather than asking, "How did we do last month?" organizations will increasingly ask, "Where is this KPI heading next month? And what should we do now to change its trajectory?" Third, KPI personalization. Different teams don't need the same view. Finance, operations, marketing, product, and customer support each make different decisions. The KPI set will remain consistent at the top, but how it's packaged and delivered will be tailored to the decision environment of each group. Fourth, global KPI harmonization. Multinational companies will standardize BI KPIs across regions so performance and maturity can be compared and improved systematically without getting trapped in local definitions and incompatible metrics. And fifth, decision intelligence KPIs. This is a big one. As human decisions increasingly involve AI copilots, forecasting agents, and automated recommendations, new measures will emerge to capture the quality of that collaboration. Not just did the model predict, but did the human understand, trust, and appropriately act on the recommendation? The future KPI conversation is less about reporting and more about the mechanics of decision-making itself. Let's bring it home with the essential takeaways. Most organizations don't have a data problem. They have a focus problem. They track too many metrics, and they track the wrong ones. If you want a BI function that drives real impact, you need to measure BI like a decision engine. The 7 KPIs to anchor on are decision speed, decision accuracy, data trust score, insight adoption rate, time to insight, data quality index, and BI ROI, your return on insight. Track these well, and BI stops being a reporting factory and becomes strategic decision intelligence. And where this is heading is clear: more predictive measurement, more AI-driven monitoring, and more alignment across teams and regions.
If this episode helped you rethink how you measure BI success, follow the BI channel for more global insights on data, AI, and decision intelligence. And if you're building a performance-driven BI culture, share this with your BI team. Use it as a starting point for a conversation. Which of these are we measuring today? And which one would create the biggest shift if we got it right? The BI channel, where data meets decisions.